Live. Uh, I wanted to do a shout out to my granddaughters, uh, Evelyn, call her Duck, and Kimberly, Cake, call her Cake. So if you girls ever see this, Grandpa says hello. Uh, Earlier today, I got a notification on YouTube from John the Morgile. It was good to hear from him. I like his reading of that book about the Iron Realm down, that people left Florida back in the early 1900s and found more land down below what was supposed to be Antarctica. I wanted to do a shout out to Karen B. I watched her video that she did, the memorial for some of the flat earthers that we lost during the last 4 years. It's hard to believe those guys are gone, man. I could just when I seen that picture of the part of the video where Karen's with Flat Earth Fokker, they looked happy sitting together, and they probably jived on a high level. And yeah, Flat Earth Fokker, he was a pretty interesting character during my time of watching Flat Earth uh, content on YouTube. Uh, I also watch economics videos and collections videos. You can see it in my playlist. Half that stuff's misspelled because I was on a tablet at the time and it didn't correct right. The editing of YouTube was not made for me. I'm sure I could do it with a little help and just searching it out, but I thought at least I could figure out how to go live, update you guys, let you know I'm still alive, still going on, doing all right, best I can. Uh, and it's hard getting to be this age. Yesterday was the 7th in December, day that lives in infamy in Pearl Harbor. That was a big, big loss for the United States. I didn't like the whole thing. I heard stories about knew about it ahead of time, and the president didn't do enough to make it stop, and it's just a tragedy. And I was telling my mom, what's the worst tragedy that we've had in America, and she gave me a couple of things, and it wasn't it. It was Black Tom, like Brian Staley says it is. So I looked that up, and yeah, that was an event. People still haven't been up in the torch, and oh, that's another thing. That Mandela effect. That's really interesting. Shiva Shampoo guy and then Brian Staley. He's really got some good stuff on Mandela effect, and that's pretty cool, interesting topic. I'll be checking out more of that stuff over time. Uh, but the last 4 years, that's what I had got on here to really, you know, say something about. They've been stressful, and especially this last 6 or 7 months, probably just with the news that you're hearing. I watch a little bit of news, Yeah, I like to listen to a little bit of everything Fox, CBS, NBC, and then I listen to stuff from Sky News Australia and uh, the CB, NBC, but it's Canada or CBC, whatever it is. Anyway, I was digging it, man. You got speaking of Australia, you got autodidactic Campbell came over, went to Jason from Archaic's house, and so so did well, he didn't go there. He went to the same kind of meeting that Jason and Martin went to. Martin came from the Welsh area up there, wherever he's at, Britain. Uh, that was really neat to see those guys all together and go to a truther uh, convention. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. They were there. It was really, really cool. They saw San Diego. They traveled up to Colorado and get to see some more of Jason's books. I got a large book collection and I'd like to show it someday. I get some that are interesting about electricity from 1880s to the 1920s and 30s. That little period before there, I got some electricity books that are really interesting. Kind of goes into a lot of that stuff with heavy side and all that Faraday and the people that Eric Dollard talk about. Uh, it's really interesting. And other books, yeah, I had similar experiences of being able to read a lot of books as Jason, and I caught the Don Juan, uh, Marco Polo, uh, Costa Canaria, whatever it was, in Mexico. I originally read the Hancock book. What do they call it? Not of the Giants, but of the Chariots of the Gods. I think it was. I'm not sure. I'm getting old. Said I'm 56, man. 56 years old. Uh, Campbell's starting to grow his hair back. This took last haircut was '07. I let it all hang out. It looked pretty. Uh, and start wearing these aren't prescription. This is just dollar store glasses. I think they're 150s, something like that. But they work okay. And I've seen that Campbell's back in his dome, and I've been listening to the other what's that, UAP Douglas. He's a Christian like me and Mark. That brings up some really good points, and he's awake and aware. It was really weird that uh, Mark did his clues, and when he did them, he wasn't the first person I heard that from. Uh, the first person I heard about flat Earth from was that Boylan guy, uh, uh, and then there were a couple of other flat Earth videos, but yeah, and then I two or three different versions of Mark's clues were uploaded to the internet, and I got to jam through the whole thing. And by the time I got to the end, I only had trouble with you know simulated sky. I, I believe there's a space up there. I don't believe it's like outer space. I believe like when you look through the glasses that the like Mark was talking about, the first and second generations of night vision. You can see things going on up there that are amazing, and I've seen them. And when I was younger, I had great, great vision, and I believed in the heliocentric model. I, I even believed in the force of gravity that something could go and fall into an orbit around a ball. The older I got, and the more I watched stuff like Mark's Clues, Eric DeBay's 200 Proofs. If you ever get a chance to watch those, if you haven't watched them, watch Eric DeBay's 200 Proofs. He didn't actually write it. He wrote the 200, but he got it from the 100. There was a book about 100 proofs that you don't live on a spinning ball. I don't believe I live on a spinning ball. I think my daughter does, and I have trouble with communicating with her about it. Whenever I bring it up, it gets, oh, come on, I don't want, I'm in uh, one of those. She bought into it, is what I'm saying. I did too. I was buying Omni magazines, $2.99 a magazine back in the '80s, late '80s, early '90s, and I was all into Cosmos, PBS. I don't believe it anymore. We just see too far. Water always finds its level. There's I don't see the vacuum of space. I see people floating around on wires. I see tricks. I see look up anything. Say it's like NASA's bloopers, mistakes. Look up the mistakes that NASA has made, and you'll just see. You know, where does all that 65 million a day? Where does that money go? Hire someone and does real good Photoshop because your Photoshop guy ain't. Anyway, I just really wanted to get on and say, happy Hanukkah to Jewish friends and Merry Christmas. Uh, I think of David Weiss and Patricia Steer. They got a little Jewish in them. I talked to Patricia for a little while longer after she left Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes on Skype, and she seemed to be doing all right. I told her about things going on at the house. I had rain damage on the roof. I'm lucky I was paying insurance because I got them to cover about 80% of it, I guess. I still had to got a couple of grand, but they fixed the roof and I was happy. And I was talking to Patricia, but she's not the type of girl that I could probably get along with because she would never get me to quit smoking or eating meat. None of the other people that I've met could probably. I just heard about the a la carte thing at McDonald's. I don't really like McDonald's that much anymore after I heard some weird stories about McDonald's. But every once in a while, the burger meat's okay. I could eat a quarter pounder or whatever. But I just heard you can order a la carte. You can get like 7 patties, just meat with salt and pepper, and that's about $13.50 in most areas. Now that, if you're starting a carnivore diet, is a really cool thing to know. There's a Flat Stuff Earth. I know. Hi, Flat Stuff Earth. I love your videos. Uh, eyeballs. Oh well. Yeah, I get it. But anyway, the meat patties from McDonald's. If it's just the patties, I could probably eat a few of them. Sorry to all my vegetarian friends, vegans, and all that. I got nothing against taking a 5-6 month hiatus from meat, but and I don't eat too much pork hardly ever anymore. Maybe unless it's on a pizza. Yeah, I'm in St. Louis. We got too much other good stuff to eat around here. They got the hill. It's got all kinds of Italian dishes that don't really even contain any meat. It's pretty good food. If you ever get up to St. Louis, you ought to try the cuisine on the hill here. It's great. The arch is pretty cool, but it's expensive. I think Campbell said he went up into the arch, and that's pretty cool. I bet they started us up in kindergarten. We used to get to go into the arch for free in school, and it was a field trip back in the day. And that was kindergarten. It was 1971 for me, and I still remember that. Anyways, yeah, I didn't get sick. Maybe on January of 2020, for about 2 weeks, I had a little sickness, and I didn't get no swab, didn't get no jab, barely wore the mask just so I could go get groceries at certain stores. And if they didn't want you to wear one, I just didn't wear it. If they didn't want making a big deal about it, I just didn't wear it. Just that way, that's where you breathe from. I already smoke, so you know. Oh, speaking of smoke, it's finally decriminalized here in St. Louis. Been decriminalized for about a year, cannabis, and now they make some pretty good money, I guess, up there. But the strains of the stuff they got is just woo. So yeah, back to there's Flat Stuff Earth. Flat Earth is an interesting topic to me, and you know, I'm never going to ever be able to see it as a ball, a sphere, globe, or circle ever again. Maybe a little bit circular, but see, I see the comets, meteors. Some of them got a 72 to 105-year path, and they come back. So this place must extend out far enough for them to go all that way. And I tend to think it's just two panes of glass, of like solid barrier, ice, glass. It's probably ice. I know there's water up there. I've seen that Elon Musk guy's little space rockets that look like a boat going through water. You can't get through that. And he definitely didn't put a car in space. The tires would have blown up. Uh, and I believe there's an extending upward space at certain levels. I know that as you get closer to Antarctica, the ceiling gets lower and the land gets higher. It's the outer edges are higher than Mount Everest. Mount Everest, and the inner area is either flooded because those islands were there. They're on the maps. If you were a cartographer and you brought the map back to the Queen and you didn't do your due diligence and get it correct, the Queen's going to probably take your head off. So the maps are correct. That's the way it looked, and it might even still be there. I heard that the dictator up north of here, Justin Trudeau, he was talking about he'd been to the north and was all, seen stuff about his dad, uh, how neat the place was, and he would never forget it. And all they ever show us is ice and water up there, uh, and no land right at the center. And some of the maps that I've seen show that the tip of Greenland is a little curved over. It looks like a comma. So part of Greenland might really be one of the four islands. But it looks like they erased it out over time during the 1500s, 16, no, during the 1600s to early 1800s. They just started to phase out the area coming from Russia to those four islands. And then they just swallowed the islands up. They don't exist on the maps anymore. But all the other maps, the ones from the 1500s back to the 1400s, they got the Bargos Islands on them. And I just think that they're there. They're either submerged like Friesland, or they are still there, and there is a rainbow bridge, and it's all being hidden. All those lights, the neon lights, they got to come from some kind of a hollow area. There's stories, several of them, about the big hole up there, and I seen one photo and a video too that was going around the internet in 2010. I think it came out maybe, of a hole at the North Pole. It was, I think it was taken from like a Concorde or something. I thought that was really, it didn't look photoshopped. It looked like there was really a hole there. But you didn't see any light coming out. That's what really amazed me. The light comes out at night. And it's interesting that out toward Antarctica, there is a green hue of a light like that. But I don't believe there's a hole out there. And I say out there because it's up. Wherever Antarctica is, and I hear a lot of ballers talking about a ball not being there. There's video on the Flat Earth people's channels of a wall being there. Even Admiral Byrd showed the wall being there. There's an ice wall for a long. Then there's a one from an airplane too. That just, I mean, this guy went on, must have been 50, 60 miles, maybe more. And there was a large wall. At one part, there's a ship. You could see the ship is a huge ship. And the wall is supposed to be 1,400 feet. I don't know. In this area where the ship is, it was 200 feet. But it goes up to a plateau that keeps going out an altitude of 1,400 feet or more. I'm not sure how big uh, Everest is. I think it's around 14, but I know it's around 12 or 13, I think. Anyway, details I'm getting from the so-called South is that I feel like I'm in a drain. I'm in Missouri, which is a pretty good stable piece of land, except a little bit further down at San Andreas. And if that ever does its thing again, I don't know what to think. I'm a fear of earthquakes. I was in a couple of them out in California there in the 90s. See, I was in California when Rodney King got beat up, and there was a lot of racial tension on the streets in Van Nuys. I was a Van Nuys stoner while I was there, transplant from St. Louis, because I'm a Southside St. Louis stoner, whatever that is. That's what I claim to be all through my high school years. It's kind of weird to be going through the grocery store with mom. Mom's 75 years old now, and some kid from high school come running up behind you. Kid, he'd be about 56, like me. Hey, Quaalude, what's up, dude? And I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? You know, just chilling, talk to him for a little. And it's embarrassing because you're there with mom and there's people in the store. This guy's yelling Quaalude. But hey, man, you got to pick a name. My dad had Sonny that was taken. I thought that was cool. And the friends in the neighborhood always called me Crazy Charlie because I'm kind of crazy. And I didn't like that title, so I went for Quaalude Charlie because they were popular at the time. I guess Bill Cosby made them a little unpopular, but still, they were a good. I don't like psychiatry at all, but they were a good therapy drug. I would say they were meant to be to help women sleep and get off depression, but they kind of made you feel a little bit drunk and happy. Quaaludes were pretty cool. At least I got to take some lemon. I got to take some raw, and I thought it was a pretty cool trip. Kids today wouldn't know nothing about that. You didn't have to drink. Heck, I haven't drank now since my daughter was 17, and now she's 26 or 27. Yeah, she's 26. So a few years. Anyway, I'm glad that for now I quit drinking. It helped. I was it was getting kind of like Lowry. That's pretty much what it was. Becoming kind of a you know my way or the highway type of person. But, I relaxed a little more as far as attitude goes after I quit drinking. Uh, haven't been following through with a lot of things I wanted to do. It's Christmas time, and I bet a lot of people are stuck in a similar situation where they bought some of the gifts that they were going to give out to family. They got nothing wrapped yet. They got their wrapping paper sitting there. They got their boxes of little stuff they're going to wrap up over here, but they just haven't got to it yet. And that's kind of where I am. I was got so many other things going on here with they just put the new roof on now. I'm trying to get stuff upstairs that I had brought down, and I wanted to play guitar a little bit. If I get any good at it again, I'll make a couple of videos, something like that. After I show the books, those are really what I want to show because I know that a lot of my friends are into books. Douglas Campbell, Martin, and Jason. They all read from books, show books, and I know Jason's got a really good book collection. I I got a pretty good one. I want to show some of that off first before I try any more guitar stuff with the playing in the band and all that. I still love the Grateful Dead at my age. It's a great group. Wish they were still around. And anyway, Karen, that was a great video. I know that wasn't all the people that we lost, but it was the right choice to those people were Greek Island. thanks Bob, you know, and Rob. Man, I don't know if he's still around. Daryl Marble. I went to his channel a couple of years or so, a year or something since he posted anything. I know he had some trouble with staying in a band, and I think it got a little better. And the John Thor, that hurt stuff. That stuff hurt. Anyway, yeah, I'm just interested to make it to February if I can. Once I get February, I'm going to try to quit the cigarettes for the money. I already quit the landline about 3 months ago because that got up to $67. And, I had the money, but I'm not a rich man. I just said, I still never really got into smartphones. I barely know how to text, and I've never bought an Apple phone. I did buy an Apple phone, a 3GS, over the internet in 2009, 2008 or 2009. I bought the 3GS, and I only used it over a router. It never even put a SIM in it, so I never had an Apple email address yet. That's strange because I had enough money to buy 50, 60 iPhones, and I never bought one. Just didn't really want to get involved in the Apple, the whole thing. It's a money pit, and you're locked into a certain, you're locked into Apple's thing. I didn't want to be. I started out with like candies and what I could afford, and Packard Bells and stuff back in the day that were a jump off of either a gem or a DOS or a CPM or like MS-DOS to Windows. So I learned most of my stuff on PCs. And I even got into PC repair for a little while. Worked at a shop. I learned how to install operating systems from 32 and 64-bit, and then even some Linux, and set up all the little things that are on the disks that the people need, tunneling for like Windows 98. Well, that was a while back, and all that stuff. But yeah, so I figure if I quit the cigarettes, I'll breathe better, and my brain will clear up a little bit more. Quitting the alcohol really helped. I notice that when I'm around my friends who are still drinking, that they look a little bit on the sloppy side after more than a few drinks. I think everybody after a couple drinks cuts loose, and they actually look a little better for a little while. And if they got a strong tolerance, they function for a good while. I worked while I was drunk. Sometimes they didn't like it, but I showed up every day and worked. But after a while, once you get too tolerant to alcohol, it becomes a burden and a problem. I was making mistakes. I couldn't live in this house being a drunk. I got so much stuff that's all set up really particular. It's expensive, and I don't want to knock it over. So anyway, it's been hard for me to figure out just making an update. I'm glad I got to make the update. Hopefully this will stay on here. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream, and looks like I at least caught Flat Stuff Earth. Make some really good stuff, buddy. I like your stuff. And hello to my family and friends. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and I hope everybody has a chill December and between January and February. And don't quit your videos, man. Yeah, take a break. I took a break from YouTube because I just didn't have any. I'm not a real good content creator, in my own opinion, and I'm not looking for views or money from YouTube. So it's just, it's actually I just like watching a lot of YouTube. There's so much content on there. It's just beautiful. When I was a child, I had 3 channels on TV and a PBS channel and maybe a couple UHF channels that were out of different counties. And that's all we had for TV. unless she was rich, you were the remote. So it was interesting, man. I loved growing up in the 70s. I wouldn't trade it for the world. These kids growing up today, I'm interested in what you're going to live through, but I wouldn't want to live through it. You know, AI is going to be interesting, but it'll never be a cognitive, self-aware. It'll never do, be, or have anything for itself because it fundamentally is only a program ran on software and hardware. That's all it'll ever be. It'll get real good thousands of times faster than a human. It'll take over jobs, but it will never be a self. It'll be a program on hardware. Anyway, that's the update. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy 2024. Later.